Welcome to Get a Clue Casual Gamer, where we get a clue, CLUE, about a game, or my final top 10 of all time. It's an unusual list. I look at it and I wonder how at least one of them made it up there like that. But we'll see. Again, I don't edit, so you get whatever happens while we're recording, and I do have the covers here to show you so that because I don't. Sorry, I'm. Let me put that here because I don't put up a nice little picture here and everything. I don't have time. I have a full-time job. I have a very busy job. And so if I'm going to do these videos, I need to just record them. I do all the background information first and then just record, upload, and push it out. So anyway, we're at my top 10 and I'm going to hold this and hold a bunch of stuff on my lap because every time I do anything on this little table thingy here that I have 4 games holding up my iPad here, so it kind of jiggles easily when I put anything down on it like that or pick it up like that. So let's get started. My final top 10 to 1. What are they going to be? Actually, I can lay this one down and just leave it there. Okay, my number 10 is a modern classic. Very casual level. It is very easy to learn, teach, and play. And it was my number 37 last year, but my number 7 the previous year, which was the first year that I kept track of these numbers. My number 10 is King Domino. Let's do it at an angle. There we go. King Domino uses that concept of dominoes. I have done a video about it, so you can always look that up to get a little bit more information, but it's a tile laying game where you're creating areas of similar terrain with crowns on them, because crowns are the multiplier for how many tiles you have of that terrain, and that's it. I personally prefer it played at 2, but it does play 2 to 4. It plays, they say it plays in 15 to 25 minutes, and I would go on the 25-minute side of it, but it's a quick game. It's not a complicated game. Again, 2 to 4 players. Came out in 2016, so it's been 8 years this year since it came out. Again, it's my number 10. Last year, 37. The year before that, 7. It's King Domino. Number 9. This is the one that I have a feeling is probably misplaced. I did not change it because I think it deserves a hurrah. 9 last year was 233. That's why I'm here like, wait a minute, how did it get up to 9 from 233? And the previous year, I didn't have it, so it was new to me, so it wasn't on the list. So it went from 233 the first year and made it all the way to number 9 its second year. I love it. It's a simple card game. Came out in 1998, so it's been around for a little while. 26 years this year. And it is Guillotine. There we go. Do it. Guillotine. I think the theme is on the dark side, because it's a card, basically it's a card game. What you're supposedly doing are you are operating a guillotine, and you're trying to get the most important people to be on your that you guillotine. Um, but what I usually do is I say, it's a little squeamish, that that dark theme, and for those who like dark themes, go with it. But what I usually tell people, I said, especially if I'm playing with children, I will say, what we're doing is we're trying to save them from the guillotine. And so that's how I rework the theme. And it's like, we're like the Scarlet Pimpernel. Yeah, we're out there hiding and trying to save them from the guillotine. Okay, so it plays 2 to 5 players in about 30 minutes. And basically, you're playing. You have to, when it's your turn, you have to take the first card right before the guillotine. That's the one you have to take. Some of them are positives, some of them are negatives. Some of them are collectibles, where if you have two, three, four of them, you get multiple points. Some are negative points. Most of them are positive points of some sort. You're trying to avoid the negatives. You're trying to get the highest point ones. Like Marie Antoinette is going to be, one of the top, worth the most points. But you have cards in your hand, and when you can play them to change things up, say, something like, move the fourth from the front to the front, and that one might be worth a lot of points, and so you just move them to the front, or you move the one in the front to the back of the line, and it's you can shift it, you can mitigate it, and try and get the most points by saving people from the guillotine during the French Revolution. And that was my number 9. 233 last year. I mean, I had to go back and look and look and look. And then I went to the next year's, because it was so far back that I only look up my first 100 in the previous year. And so there was nothing for 233. So I went to the previous year and went through the entire thing 3 times, making sure that I hadn't missed it. And I apparently did not own it yet. And so even though it came out in 1998, it was a new to me game 2 years ago. So there you go. Guillotine, my number 9. Number 8. Oh, I did not get a picture of number 8. Really, Linda? And I'm looking to see real quick if I have it really near me. Nope. Okay, this is one of those not editing times. I will go and pull it up again. Where is it? There it is. Oh, maybe I did it out of order. That might be it. I think I did. Yeah, there it is. Okay. I did it out of order. Whew. Because I had forgotten and then had to go back after like 3. I had to go backwards and get the pictures. Okay, so my number 8 it came out in 2018, so it will be 6 years old this year. It was my number 22 last year and my number 53 the previous year. It plays 2 to 7 players, and they say it plays between 15 and 40 minutes. I would say go for the 40 because I've never been able to play it in 15 minutes. No, that's never happened. Okay, so it is called First Contact. Yeah, First Contact. I will say that just this week, Tom Vasel on Dice Tower was doing his looking back segment, and apparently 5 years ago he did the review for First Contact, and he lowered the number for it. I can't remember if he lowered it from an 8 to 7 or 9 to an 8. I mean, he really liked it. But apparently, there's a new game coming out this year that he really likes, and his concept of it is that he would rather play this new game than First Contact. As much as he loved playing First Contact, this one is going to take its place for him. So I, of course, put it on my wish list. And it's like, okay. And it is called, this is a little extra for you, A Message from the Stars. A Message from the Stars, which is supposed to come out this year. Plays 2 to 8 players, and they say about 45-minute play, which probably is very similar to First Contact. I watched him explain the whole game and how to play it and everything. As far as I'm concerned, I think they're different enough that they're as far as they're different. They're both deduction games. Not necessarily. Well, First Contact is not cooperative. I think he did say that A Message from the Stars is cooperative. I'm not sure. I can't remember. But see, First Contact uses pictures as well as symbols, and the I keep on looking at the name. A Message from the Stars is all about letters, just a letter at a time, and you're trying to deduce what symbol means what letter, or what letter means what symbol. The concept of both of them is that aliens have come to Earth, and Earthmen and aliens are trying to understand each other. So with First Contact, it's kind of Egyptian themed, and so you got that theme here, and then The Message from the Stars is like a space station type of concept theme. So a little bit different, visually, especially. But I personally think that if you like First Contact, you will probably like A Message from the Stars. They play similar numbers, 2 to 7, 2 to 8, and they play in about the same amount of time, around 45 minutes. So I'm just kind of putting that out there as a little extra for this number. My number 8, First Contact, was 22 and 53 in previous years. But I'm looking forward to trying A Message from the Stars and seeing if I like it as much as I like First Contact. We'll see. I'll see if I have a chance to play it later this year at Dice Tower Retreat. We'll see. Okay, so that was my number 8. My number 7 is has a really lovely table presence. It came out in 2020, so it's a pretty recent one. It'll be 4 years this year. Last year, it was my number 7 as well as this year. And the previous year, it was my number 4. So I've had it for a few years. It plays 1 to 4 players, so you can play it solo, which is a plus for me. And it plays between 20 and 40 minutes. They say, I would say go for the 30-40 minutes in your mind, because 20 minutes, I've never played it that quickly, even if there's only 2 of us. And that game is Project L. It's like, woo, woo, woo. Project L, very reflective there. It's kind of like a tile placement game, but you're trying to fill these shapes with polyomino shaped, Tetris shaped pieces of this really nice it feels like a nice melamine or thick plastic, smooth, shiny, really pretty pieces that are in different shapes and sizes, and you fill in these shapes on these double layer chipboard. Actually, not I don't even think of them as chipboard. I think of them much harder. I mean, you can tap tap. I have done a video on it, so you should go check that one out. But you're trying to fill the shapes on these boards, the mini boards, and once you fill it, you either get another piece, another shape as a reward, and or points. Most of them will give you a new shape. Some of them, the more complicated ones, will give you end of game scoring as well. So you're trying to get more pieces, because the more pieces you can fill in more of these double layered um, boards. They say, again, go watch the other video on it specifically, but it is a really nice game. Project L, again, and it can be played solo. There is a solo mode for it. Came out 4 years ago this year, and it really has a nice table presence. When you pull it out, people who don't normally game will look and go, "Oh, that's different. That's pretty. Oh, these are pretty. Oh, they're smooth and shiny pieces." Yeah, like it's a very welcoming type of game. So, my number 7 this year and last year, Project L. My number 6. Let's find my number 6. There we go. Picture of it. My number 6 was my number 2 last year. In fact, I found that from 7 on, well, number 2 was not in my top 10, but 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, and 1 were all in my top 10 last year. So that's a pretty good balance. My number 6 is a pure deduction game that came out in 2022. Oops, sorry. It was my number 2 last year. 6 this year, 2 last year, and it was new the previous year, so I had not played it yet and definitely did not own it. It plays 1 to 4, again, a game that can be played solo, extra plus, and they say it plays in 20 minutes, but that's like, it's the kind of game that after you've done it once in the 15-20 minutes, you're ready to do it again, and maybe a third or fourth time. So you just kind of keep on wanting to do it. It is absolutely pure deduction, and some people's brains wrap around it, and some people's don't. It is Turing Machine. Turing Machine. If you, I'm old. I will tell you, in my senior year, before I changed up my schedule, I was planning to take one of my classes was going to be punch cards. That's how old I am. It was like one of the last years they had it, because it was just before the desktop computer was invented. I mean, this is probably just before Steve Jobs started tinkering in his garage. I don't know. But anyway, but the punch cards were, of course, the way you put in information into a huge computer that was in my high school, was in a hermetically sealed, climate controlled room in the annex that only teachers and computer club members could go into, or enter and play with computers at all. But so much of the world, and that was the newfangled, you had keyboards and you could type stuff into the computer room and get responses. My math teacher had one of the keyboards in his little room off of our classroom, because high tech. And so I was going to take punch card, And then I moved my schedule around and it wasn't offered when I could take it, so I dropped it. But here you can see really carefully these little holes, those are actual holes. And the components of the game are have those kind of and you're trying to solve a 3-digit number. You're trying to figure out, and the numbers are from 1 to 5, but you're trying to figure out the placement, first, second, or third, and what number. And so it could be 1, 2, 3. It could be 1, 1, 1. It could be 3, 2, 4. Yeah, so many combinations are possible, and you're using information that you're gathering to deduce what numbers you have and what order they are in. And so it is absolutely pure deduction. There is nothing to it except deduction. So if you like numbers and you like deduction, Turing Machine is a spot on game for you. Again, I said it was my number 6 this year. It was my number 2 last year. New the previous year. Love this game. I will say it. When I set it up, I will play it 3 or 4 times before putting it away, because there is quite a bit of setup for each time you're playing it, because of because there's a certain cards that you're told to pick out of a bunch of numbered cards, over 100 numbered cards, and so you're going and looking for the specific ones because they will have the correct information for the number that you're trying to discover. I don't know if I did a separate video on this one or not. I know I've mentioned it several times in different lists, but my number 6, Turing Machine. Now we go to my number 5. Number 5 is going to be the one that I was able to just grab the box because it was near me. Number 5 came out in 2018. Last year was my number 8, and the previous year was my number 3. So it's kind of kept up there. I think it's just the theme and the simplicity of the game. Yeah, my dog is off to the corner on her hind legs begging. Yeah, she loves to come up to this room, and then she gets bored with being up in this room. Okay, so this one plays 2 to 6 players in 20 to 40 minutes. I'd say 30 to 40. It depends on how many people you are playing, truthfully. And it, like I said, came out in 2018, which makes it 6 years old this year. This year number 5, last year number 8, previous year number 3, and that is Sakura. Sakura is, the concept is, and it's perfect timing right now because we're just about to, we're right at the beginning of the cherry blossom festivals in Japan. This game, the concept is that the emperor is going through the gardens and he stops at 3 different cherry blossom trees, and everyone is an artist, and you're trying to end each time that he stops at a tree. You want to be the closest one to him. No, now she's whining. Wait. So you're wanting to be. Let me put this down. You're wanting to be the closest person, the closest artist. It's without bumping into him, and everybody else is trying to vie for that place. So you will be bumping people, and they have to go to the back of the line because they've lost face. And dog is sitting here going, "Anytime now, Mom." And so that you're playing a card to try and shift people around so that you end up closest to the emperor at the time he stops at a cherry blossom tree. And that's the game. You get honor points for being the closest 3 or 4 to the emperor when he stops. And that is Sakura, my number 5. My number 4. Okay, she's laid down right next to me, kind of going, I give up. Mom's not going to pay attention to me right now. Okay, so my number 4 was number 3 last year and number 10 the previous year, which would have been the first year I had it and had played it. It plays 3 to 6 players and they say about 30 minutes. Maybe 30, 40, 30 to 45 minutes maybe. It came out in 2021. Okay. And it is So Clover. So Clover is by the same people, Repos, that made Just One, which was in my last list, my top 20, 11 to 20. And but So Clover I'm pretty sure I've done a separate video for it, but in it you'll have these 4 heavy plastic clovers and a couple stacks of cards, little square cards that have a little square hole in it that fits on your plastic clover, and you're going to randomly take 4 of these cards and randomly place them on your clover before you look at it. I know. Maybe if you're teaching somebody for the first time, you can, sorry, I set down my phone. You can say, okay, arrange it how you would like them to be arranged and see, but quickly. Or if you're working with children, teenagers, tweens, or whatever, you might want to give them that option to choose what way they want to put their cards. But the real way is to just take 1, 2, 3, 4, plop, 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 plop. What do I have? Because on each of those cards, there's going to be a word on all 4 sides. And the parts that show outwards, there's going to be 2 words that show outwards, and they could be totally unrelated words. It's like handkerchief, purple, and you're supposed to come up with a 1-word clue for them to figure out. Purple handkerchief? How are you going to do that one? Or it might be that you can do more than 1 word. It might be that you could do a phrase like, you could do something like, for a purple handkerchief, what's that lovely Barney? Barney with a cold? Purple handkerchief? I don't know, but I think Sneezy Barney, and try and get people to figure out purple and handkerchief are together. Who knows? But that kind of concept. That's So Clover. Like I said, it came out in 2021, so it's 3 years old this year, and plays 3 to 6 players, and it has been in my top 10 ever since it came out. Go figure. So Clover. My number 3. Was number 6 last year and was my number 1 the previous year. It plays 1 to 4, so you can play solo, and that's often how I've played it. It plays to 4, but I personally prefer to play it at no more than 2. Solo or with 1 other person. My preference. They say it plays 30 to 45 minutes, and that's about correct. That's about right. Came out in 2020, which means it's 4 years old this year. And it was the first game that I bought from 25th Century. You could only, at the time I bought it, you could only buy it on their website. No one carried it. They were a newer publisher at the time, and it's Kohaku. It's the concept is you are creating a koi pond, and so you're going to be picking out each time it's your turn. It's a tile laying game. You're going to be picking out two adjacent tiles on a board that everyone picks from, two adjacent tiles, and placing them following the rules of placement on into your uh, koi pond. One will always be a koi fish, and one will always be a feature. And you can't put two koi fish next to each other. You can't put two features next to each other. They have to alternate. But some of the features will be like black butterflies, which means every koi fish that is on its four sides that is has black in it gets extra points. Or it could be a frog likes dragonflies. So any fish, any koi next to it that has little dragonflies in amongst it will get extra points for those little dragonflies. That kind of thing. It's a tile laying game. It's a little puzzly, but it is very relaxing. When I play it solo, I'm just like trying to get the best score. Um, there are three different levels when you're doing a solo game. There's three different levels of complexity in scoring. I tend to do them all to see if I can beat the advanced. And if I can't beat the advanced, did I at least beat the moderate? Or was it such a bad game that I didn't even beat the easy one? Yeah, so that's me. You can always pick which one you want to try and beat. But I like occasionally I beat the advanced. Um, in playing my number three, Kohaku. I've been playing it since the year it came out. I really enjoy this game, and it shows. It number three this year, six last year, and one the previous year. My number two, um, yeah, my number two was not in my top 10 last year, but it was brand new to me. And I think I had only played it once, maybe twice at that point. It was my number 14 last year. And of course, I did not have it the previous year. Um, it hadn't been out. I mean, I literally bought it the week it came out. Or no, I didn't. I forced myself to wait a month to kind of make sure that it got a little bit cheaper, maybe. And it is Rear Window. It is a cooperative deduction game unless there's a twist, unless there happened to have been a murder. And then the director is trying to sneak in that murder. and But it's, like I said, it's a deduction game, came out in 2022. So this is its second year. It plays 3 to 5 players in about 40 minutes, 40 to an hour, I would say. Depends on how much conversation your watchers are sharing for each of 4 days. The director behind the screen knows who lives in 4 different apartments and some aspect about them. They might be a connoisseur, and they might be a drunk, they might be a murderer, but they might not. There might not be a murderer in the game. You never know. But you have cards. There are 8 windows, 2 for each of the 4 apartments, and you're trying to pick out of these 8 cards ones that will give your watchers, the other players, a clue about who lives there and the aspect that they are. You know, whether they're, you know, the connoisseur or the drunk or the thief or the, you know, it's all kinds of different things. Um, I just played it a couple weeks ago. Totally enjoyed it. My friend liked it enough that she ordered it before I even left. I was visiting a friend for a few days, and before I left, she had already ordered it, and she sent me pictures later of her and her daughter and granddaughters playing it. So it's like, yeah, it's it's a deduction, cooperative deduction. You can the instructions don't say this, but I'll tell you, you can choose to just not put in the murderer and make it a completely cooperative game. So, especially that first one or two times, you really want people to understand and grasp the concept of how to figure out the person and something about them, without worrying about is the director actually trying to get us to miss that there's a murderer. Just don't put one in. Just leave it without, you know, and just play it as a deduction game, a fun deduction game, similar to Mysterium Park, where, yeah, or even Clue. You know, you go all the way back to that. You're getting a few clues, and together they're discussing. The director cannot talk with the watchers. The watchers talk about amongst themselves, and they choose what they think, and then the director lets them know how many out of the 8 possible items they have correct. Not what they have correct, but how many they have correct. And then you go to the next day, and the next day, and the next day. There are 4 rounds to this. And that is my number 2. Personally, I had to get it because I love deduction games. My channel is called Get a Clue because I love Clue. So it's like, I'm here like, I love deduction games. And Rear Window is my favorite Alfred Hitchcock movie. So I knew it was here like, the theme got me, as well as the mechanism, the concept of trying to deduce. So that is my number 2. Rear Window was number 14 last year, and now to my number 1. My number 1 is very unusual. It was my number 2 it was my number 1 last year and my number 2 the previous year. It is hard to explain. I'm pretty sure I've done a video on it. Maybe not. I don't know. It came out in 2020, so it's 4 years old this year. It plays 2 to 4 players, unless you get an expansion for 5 to 6 players. And it plays in 50 to 90 minutes. And it really does, depending on how many people you have playing. 2 to 4. I've played it with 2, I've played it with 4. I have not needed to play it with an expansion yet. I do own the expansion, being that I almost never buy expansions for any games. But this one I bought the 5-6 player expansion and 2 of the other 3 expansions that have come out for it. It is a very light game. It's a very unusual game. I think the theme and the way it looks is what drew me to it, what draws me to it. I mean, ever since it came out, ever since I got it, it has been either my number 1 or my number 2. And it is picture perfect. It is such an unusual game. I always say it's a deduction game where you feel like you're playing with paper dolls, because you kind of are playing with these standy people and dog and plant and all that fun stuff. And it has 3 expansions besides the 5-6 player expansion. And I've got 2 of them. I haven't played one of them yet. I played one just yeah, when we a couple weeks ago when I played, it was at my friend's house, and we played it. Um, it is okay. Each person, there's a bunch of people, like 12, 14 people, and then there's actually. I did take an end picture of that game. Let me find it. It's okay. Let me which end? Here we go. So in this one we had a murder. Um, this is the we. This was with the Sherlock Holmes expansion, and so you see on the floor here, there's little squares, and there's two rows, and each side of the table. When you're not using this expansion, the table is upright, but with this expansion, you have a dead body in the in the table, and so each person has a little envelope that has information in it as to where they want to be in this picture. Do they want to be in the back row, the front row, the left, the right? Do they want their face to be seen? Do they want to be standing next to so and so? And so you're looking at this and you're placing them in a location, trying to complete all of their wishes. Sometimes it's impossible to do all of their wishes because they could have a card that says I want to be on the right side and another card that says I want to be on the left side, because they are randomly put in there. So you just pick which one is going to work for. I want to be next to the lady in the yellow dress. Okay, well, the lady in the yellow dress wants to be on this side, so let me put you on this side. Then you put all these back in the envelope, and you might not see those again in the entire game. You gotta remember, that's why you put them there. They wanted to be on that side near the lady in the yellow dress. And throughout the game, there'll be a rotation of the envelopes about each person. And when you get them, you place them. And then at the end of the game, you literally take your phone. That's why I have the picture here. You take your phone and you take a picture. And in this case, back here, you see a little head over here. That person didn't want their face to be seen. So I angled it so that their face could not be seen in the final picture, in the perfect picture. To give you a little bit of what some of the components look like. These are some of the cards. We were scoring, so we were going through each of the scoring things. But yeah, Picture Perfect is my number one of all time. Don't know if it'll hold up for a fourth year in a row, but it's been one or two ever since it came out, ever since I played it for the first time. I like that time period, that Edwardian England kind of look to it. The people are dressed like that. And I love deduction. And I loved playing with paper dolls when I was a little girl. So it kind of like all adds up to this. And even though it sounds kind of childish, trying to get the people in the best spot to get the most points. That's one. It's a tile laying game, but with standy people. Yeah. So yeah, my number one is Picture Perfect. Came out in 2020, and until next time, happy gaming and God bless you and your family. Bye.